What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Credit Plug channel where we talk about how to build credit, how to establish relationships with banks and financial institutions, and most importantly, how to get you access to high limit credit funding. If that's something you like to listen to, we welcome you to subscribe. Otherwise, you can support our channel if you just like, share, or even comment down below. It helps our content get out to a wider audience, and we greatly appreciate the support. As a reminder, don't forget to hit that notification bell to get the latest alerts on all the different contents and videos that we drop here on the Credit Plug channel. So for today's video, I have a special subject that I wanted to talk about, and this relates to everyone's favorite credit union, which is Navy Federal Credit Union. Now, as a lot of you know, Navy Federal Credit Union is one of the most popular credit unions, and just sort of the consensus overall favorite, right? Navy Federal is the largest credit union. They're known for their generosity in terms of the limits that they give for people with relatively lower credit profiles, and just overall, right? Navy Federal is one of the places where you can get a pretty decent credit limit without having the best credit. And because of their reputation for giving high limits, giving low interest rates on mortgages, loans, higher interest rates on savings accounts and things like that, Navy Federal has developed, a very, very positive relationship and is one of the most sought after credit unions out there. A lot of people want to get into Navy Federal. And one of the things with Navy Federal is that their membership is restrictive in terms of who can join. So generally, you're going to need to have some type of military affiliation, or you could be a contractor for like one of the DoD agencies, family members, etc. Now, because of this restrictive, way to get in, a lot of people have been trying to get in through back doors. Now, there's a couple backdoor ways that you can get in. For the longest time, I never wanted to share this information, just for the simple fact that I understand that information can and will be abused, especially for amongst people who really don't have good intentions in terms of actually building a relationship. And one of the more disturbing things that I've seen just from someone who's kind of on the front lines, I'd get hundreds and hundreds of emails from people asking about how do they get into Navy Federal without, having an affiliation, right? And just to be frank, this is, someone getting in through the back door with Navy Federal without actually having a true affiliation. I mean, that is basically fraud, right? Getting in through an affiliation that you really don't have. Now, and one of the ways that a lot of people were getting in and still get into this day is through the cohabitant affiliation, right? So basically, if there's anyone who basically like a roommate or someone you live with, right, a cohabitant, essentially what they do is, take someone's membership ID and then just make sure that they put the same address on their application when they apply. So Navy Federal will cross check to see if the address that you put on your application matches the address of the person who's sponsoring you. And as long as they match, then you're good to go. Sometimes they'll ask for address verification. So you might have to provide like a utility bill with your name and the address on it, or like a bank statement from another institution. So there's all types of ways to get around that, right? But that was one of the, and it still is to this day, one of the ways that a lot of people get in through the back door. So with that being said, I've seen also too, a lot of people getting in through the back door with the intention of getting access to high limits and then basically, running off and not paying those, right? And what that's really done was kind of change the way that Navy Federal operates in terms of giving out, high limits and things like that. So just to be clear too, you can still get high limits if you have an existing relationship with Navy Federal. You've been with them for, a while, at least, 90 days or greater. You have deposits with them. They see money coming into your account. You might have direct deposits. You can still do all of that and get high limits, right? They're still giving out $25,000 limits like candy. However, it's become a little harder for people who were basically just getting in through the back door and then immediately applying and trying to get high limits, because what's happened recently is that Navy Federal has reduced the maximum exposure for new customers. And I believe it's specifically for that reason, swarms of people getting in through the back door, applying immediately for credit, getting that credit, and then basically, not repaying that. And the reason why when that happens, it kind of ruins things for everyone is for the simple fact that banks, financial institutions operate all the fractional reserve system. So there has to be a certain amount of deposits in relation to the loans outstanding, right? So they have to keep a ratio, right? So if there's, and this is, I'm just throwing out an example. So if a bank has $1 million in customer deposits, then they could theoretically lend out 10 million in loans, credit cards, things like that, right? And actually, the rate is lower. I believe it's 9.8%. So banks are even more over leveraged. But when loans go bad, that kind of changes the balance, right? Because when the loans go bad, right, there's what's called loan loss reserve, right? So it's basically an amount that's set aside in order to cover, any type of bad loans, right? So when people default on debt, that'll cause the financial institutions to tighten up. So they're not going to be able to lend out as much. And in addition to that, when customers just become members, right, without bringing over their deposits, that throws off the balance, right? So, in an example for those who are getting these $25,000 limits, right, credit card limits, let's say Navy Federal gives out 25,000. In order to maintain that balance, that customer would have to bring over $2,500 in deposits in order to maintain that balance. But when people are getting the credit but not bringing over deposits, then the banks have to lower the amount of credit that they can extend because that ratio is unbalanced, right? When people get credit but don't bring deposits over, and then on top of that, default on those credit cards, loans, and things like that. So that kind of throws things out of whack and is evident in some of the policies and procedures that Navy Federal has recently started to implement in terms of people getting lower limits for new customers. I'm speaking on for new customers getting lower limits compared to what people were accustomed to, right? Because I've seen it with even some clients where have really, really high credit scores and they're getting 3,000 or $1,000 limit on their first credit card with Navy Federal. Whereas in the past, as long as you had, a 680 or above, you can expect to get 25,000 out the gate. So that's definitely one difference that we're seeing right now with this current environment. Navy Federal is definitely tightening up. But I also wanted to get a sense of how some of you, other customers who've been with Navy Federal, how do you feel about people getting in through the back door, defaulting, kind of, I would say in a sense, kind of watering down Navy Federal, right? How do you guys feel about that? I know there are a couple comments about now when people go into branches, it's very crowded. There's a lot of people there, and um, presumably a lot of people who don't actually have a military affiliation. And that's one of the things too, because Navy Federal was really designed for the military, families of the military, but now you have a lot of people who are getting into Navy Federal who actually have no affiliation whatsoever, no true affiliation. So I just wanted to know, how do you guys feel about that, right? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think Navy Federal should be wide open, or do you think they should, maintain that, reputation for serving families of the military and just keeping it a little bit more tight in terms of who they allow in? Because I've definitely seen, or a lot of people getting into Navy without, true affiliation, and then joining with bad intentions, right? Just trying to get the high limits, and then either purposely default on that debt, and not really build a relationship. So that's all I wanted to really talk about in this video. Definitely let me know your comment section, or let me know your comments in the comment section down below. And until next time, y'all take it easy, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.